So unbelievably incredible that I have no other way to do this other than just to blurt it out and say what I have to say. Now, Hesiod was one of the earliest writers, 750 to 650 BC. Now, what did he write about? He wrote about creation. And how did he know about creation? He was selected by the daughters of Zeus to write these stories of the early gods and how they became, and they acquired the universe. I mean, it's the average mind is going to just fall out of your head. You cannot get there from here. I don't know what other than to say, but just listen. All I can say is let your mind open up and think, because I don't think there's a mind on the planet that could encompass this. Just, oh yeah, okay, let's go with this. Oh yeah, no problem. It's not going to happen. You're going to fight against it. Your mind is going to hold this away from you. I think it just, I can see this. I know this is happening because I see it every day. But Hesiod wrote things that I am finding now are almost identical to the Gnostic texts, and the Gnostic texts have a whole ton of similarities and coherence to the biblical texts, and they all have a coherence and a similarity to every culture's writings in history of the gods and of these insane, crazy things that happen. I mean, Pegasus and Chimera and Typhon and I mean, it's just, I don't know what else to say other than just let's look at the evidence, because it's overwhelming when you see it, but nobody in their right mind would take this as factual without finding the dragons, without finding the giants, without finding the organized creatures, and being able to I had to open my mind up to do this. I mean, I didn't just look at this, oh yeah, that's all, well, maybe I did, I don't know. I can't really remember, to be honest with you, because once I first decided this is real, that was it. I was off to the races, and I was not going to be denied. This is not deniable. It's not deniable. And this is our history. This is, and it is our eternity. I'm going to tell you that right now, because these gods are immortal. And when you hear what Hesiod has to say, because he is the actual writer of Greek history, Greek mythology, they call it, the old poems, they call them. Well, I'm going to tell you one thing right now. This is factual. I'm almost 100% certain. Literally everything that he's saying is factual. As far as I'm concerned, you have your own take on it. That's good for you. But this is the way I'm looking at it, and this is how I'm going to approach this, how I'm going to speak, is that it's all factual. All right, let me just start you off by, here's the story. There's the muses, all these, this was Zeus's daughters. There was 9 of them. And they just danced around and had a good time and sung all day long. They were muses. I don't know. They were his daughters. Again, I can't explain any of this. All I can tell you is what was written. So, Ovid is Hesiod is a sheep herder, apparently, and they tell him, we're going to tell you the story of the creation of history, and we tell lies a lot, but we're going to tell you the truth. And I hope they did. I don't know if they did or not, but that's what they said. So it sort of leaves you halfway in. Maybe they were lying, maybe they were telling the truth. I don't know. So anyway, this is how it starts. They tell him these stories, and he writes them down. All right, now you have to take this in the context of Pistis Sophia, the book that I was working on the other day. Had a couple of videos, at least one anyway, that related to this. Now, in Pistis Sophia, it's extremely hard read, and it's you have to do a lot of studying to understand it. Let me put it that way. But I'm just going to cut to the chase and tell you why it is so critical that you understand this was in the Gnostic text. This is the end time text. Jesus came back to earth to tell his disciples what the true story of history was. And they said, he said, I will tell you everything from the interior of the interior to the exterior of the exterior. And now she's asking about the exterior of the exterior. Mary is asking the outer darkness, and she says, and Mary continued, this is Mary Magdalene, continued and said unto Jesus, and what type is the outer darkness, or rather, how many regions of chastisement are there in it? Chastisement is punishment. Jesus answered and said unto Mary, the outer darkness is a great dragon whose tail is in his mouth, the Ouroboros. It's in history, outside the whole world, surrounding the whole world. In the Norse, in all kinds of histories, they have the same story. And there are many regions of chastisement, the dungeons in it. 12 mighty chastisement dungeons. A ruler in every dungeon, and the face of the rulers is different one from another. Crocodiles and cats and dogs' faces, and it's absolutely phenomenal. But so you see, it's the dragons. Here's the dragon. That's the dragon that we have discovered. It's there. It's real. It's not something that anybody can really honestly deny. So you have to start to look at this with a whole new set of eyes. Now listen to this. All right, I'm just going to do the last few words of the last chapter of Pistis Sophia. Now, Jesus said unto his disciples, when the sphere turneth itself, and Kronos and Ares come behind the Virgin of Light, and Zeus and Aphrodite come in the face of the Virgin, they being in their own aeons, then the veils of the Virgin draw themselves aside. She falleth into joy in the hour when she see these two light stars before her, and all the souls which she cast at that hour into the circuit of the aeons of the spheres, they may come of the sphere, which I believe is us, they may come into the world, the sphere, will be righteous and good, and find at this time the mysteries of the light. She sendeth them anew, and they may find the mysteries of the light. Now, if on the other hand, Ares, now this is Jesus saying this. Jesus said unto his disciples now. So if on the other hand Ares and Kronos come in the face of the Virgin, Zeus and Aphrodite behind her, so that she seeth them not, then all the souls which she cast in that hour in the creatures of the sphere will be wicked and wrathful, and do not find the mystery of the light. When then Jesus said this unto his disciples in the midst of the Amente, all right, look that up in the Emerald Tablets, Thoth, in the Amente, the disciples cried and wept, saying, Woe, woe unto sinners, on whom the negligence and the forgetfulness of the rulers lie, until they come out of the body and are led to these chastisements. Have mercy upon us, have mercy upon us, Son of the Holy One, and have compassion with us, that we may be saved from these chastisements and these judgments which are prepared for the sinners. For we also have sinned, our Lord and our light. That's the end. And I don't know anybody that hasn't sinned. I'm just hoping. And when it comes up here, they said, how many chastisements you're going to get? And he said, if you sin 3 times, you get 3. If you sin 1,000, you get 1,000. Jesus said, yeah, he will receive it, and he's going to commit 3 sins, he'll receive chastisements for 3. And these chastisements do not sound good. These were not gentle little punishments. There's no little slap on the wrist here, I don't think. It's scary. It's scary. All right, so I'm just going to run it through here. Now, this is from Intellectual Exercise. Let's go back to October 2015. The Bloodline and Ancestry of the Gods, which is the Theogony Mythology audiobook. Well, it's not mythology, it's reality. Now, I'm going to just jump up here to where it has some, well, I mean, it's just fabulous from the first second, but it goes for an hour, and I don't want to take all that time. So let's just start here where it has something to say about things that might interest us.
And the Gorgons, who dwell beyond glorious ocean, in the frontier land towards night, where are the clear-voiced Hesperides, Thano and Euryale, and Medusa, who suffered a woeful fate. She was mortal, but the two were undying and grew not old. With her lay the dark-haired one in a soft meadow amid spring flowers, And when Perseus cut off her head, there sprang forth great Chrysaor and the horse Pegasus, who is so called because he was born near the springs of Ocean, and that other because he held a golden blade in his hands. Now Pegasus flew away and left the earth, the mother of flocks, and came to the deathless gods. And he dwells in the house of Zeus, and brings to wise Zeus the thunder and lightning. But Chrysaor was joined in love to Callirhoe, the daughter of glorious Ocean, and begot three-headed Geryones. Him mighty Heracles slew in sea-girt Erythea by his shambling oxen on that day when he drove the wide-browed oxen to holy Tiryns, and had crossed the ford of Ocean and killed Orthus and Eurytion the herdsman in the dim stead out beyond glorious Ocean. And in a hollow cave she bore another monster, irresistible, in no wise like either to mortal men or to the undying gods, even the goddess fierce Echidna, who is half a nymph with glancing eyes and fair cheeks, and half again a huge snake, great and awful, with speckled skin, eating raw flesh beneath the secret parts of the holy earth.
I mean, what can I say about this? This guy goes back 700 BC. It's one of the first words written, and he's talking about Zeus and Aphrodite and all the exact same things. Medusa cutting her head off, the Gorgons, the same things in Pistis Sophia. Now, is it all made up according to this book, and they made up Pistis Sophia to go along with this, or is it all real? Or I mean, why did the Norse have this? Why did the Norse have this sort of same stuff? With a Ouroboros with his head, a snake going all around the earth, Jormungandr, and all of the. I know the dragons are all over the earth. So all of this stuff has to be looked at with a whole new attitude. And look, here. No, this is things that have not been considered. Here, I got a little Wile E. Coyote going here. These are the things that have not been considered ever in history that I know of. Nobody's talked to me about these. Maybe you, but not me. Giants, miles tall. Nobody told me about that. The guy's 15 feet tall. He's a giant. No, the guy isn't even a viable sperm. Titans. You read about them. Oh, they're all a big joke, a big, a myth, a big silly thing. Well, let's think about them in reality now, because I'm telling you, Jesus talks about them. Everybody talks about them. So I'm going with that. The great dragons. There's no question. Absolutely 100% certain. No question whatsoever now. And the feathered serpent now is totally obvious. I would assume it's completely valid. Greg found the feathers. Greg Morrison down in Tennessee went right down there and found them. So that's not even in question. Now, the other things that haven't been really considered with these details that go along with it, and the Titans being in the earth, and that being the DNA that went into Adam, because if they were the earth, the Titans were in the earth in those days, then Adam got made out of that clay, because we are clay, and that ended up becoming Adam, and then his daughters ended up mating with the angels, and zoop, they went. And then and Jesus said in one of the things, he said that the angels, the watchers were guarding the dragons so they would not mutiny, and they did mutiny. 200 of them signed a pact, and they mutinied. All right, so you got the end times text, all found in 1945. Same time as the Jews got out of the Holocaust and World War II was over. Then they got their state, Israel. I found the giants in 2012, and I'm telling you something right now. That was divine inspiration. It's just accident. I have nothing to do with it. I'm just like a paper boy. But I'm going to tell you right now, and I've said this before. I don't say it very often, but it's true. I woke up one morning. I said to my wife, "There's something in the woods calling my name." I got up. I went out in the woods. I started looking around, and I found a dinosaur egg. It's probably a little Tweety bird egg, but it looked like a dinosaur. He's about this big around. Nobody believed me, so I went back out again looking, and I found the giant fingertip. I knew what it was. There's no question what it was. So I come back, I look in my computer for giants, and it comes up, these things are for you to see and for others as a test. And I said, whoa. So I go searching to see where that came from, because I didn't ask for that. I asked for what were giants. And that message went away, and I never could figure out where it came from, and it does not exist on the internet. And his exact wording was, these things are for you to see and for others as a test. And I thought, boy, that's kind of interesting. And sure enough, the test did not have a whole lot of people getting good marks. Plus they beat up the teacher. So anyway, these things have to be considered. The end times text, the Gorgons, you could see the Gorgonized things. All these myths must be considered now. Iapetus, Hesiod talks about Iapetus, and he's one of the gods. Iapetus is, well, let me show you what Iapetus is. All right, these stone balls are all over the earth. There's a couple spots down here where a cord attaches. They embed, and those allow the things to be flexible around them and then retract back to these anchor balls. Now, let's take a look at Iapetus. You see that? That's Iapetus. Hesiod talks about it being one of the gods. That was, one of the sons of some god. There's a zillion of them. This ridge around it is the same ridge you see on the tendon balls. Those two anchor spots are the same anchors you see on the tendon balls. You see, that's the equatorial ridge, they call it, on Iapetus. Now that is Saturn's moon. That's one of Saturn's moons, but it is a moon of Saturn. And all of these were gods. The Saturn, and the other ones was Pluto, the fair Pluto, or I don't know, bright-eyed Pluto, something like that. But they all were children of the gods. You see, that's another thing. This was from a giant on Earth somewhere. That is a tendon ball. Those are the two anchor spots, just like you see on Iapetus. That right there is what you're looking at. These are the tendon balls. Now, they go from bone to tendons to muscle and so forth, and then they also have the ones internal, which are the ligaments. And that's a ball inside with a whole bunch of nubbins. I mean, at this point, it's pretty much up to you to start studying this stuff if you're interested in eternity. But a lot of people, it's a job. This is a job. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But I'm seeing this honestly as eternity.
And there she has a cave, deep down under a hollow rock, far from the deathless gods and mortal men.
Wait a second, let me go back, because this was the goddess, or somebody that had half a snake's body.
And when Perseus cut off her head, there sprang forth great Chrysaor and the horse Pegasus, who is so called because he was born near the springs of Ocean.
That was Medusa.
And that other because he held a golden blade in his hands. Now Pegasus flew away and left the earth, the mother of flocks, and came to the deathless gods. And he dwells in the house of Zeus, and brings to wise Zeus the thunder and lightning. But Chrysaor was joined in love to Callirhoe, the daughter of glorious Ocean, and begot three-headed Geryones. Him mighty Heracles slew in sea-girt Erythea by his shambling oxen on that day when he drove the wide-browed oxen to holy Tiryns, and had crossed the ford of Ocean and killed Orthus and Eurytion the herdsman, in the dim stead out beyond glorious Ocean. And in a hollow cave she bore another monster, irresistible, in no wise like either to mortal men or to the undying gods, even the goddess fierce Echidna, who was half a nymph with glancing eyes and fair cheeks, and half again a huge snake, great and awful, with speckled skin, eating raw flesh beneath the secret parts of the holy earth. And there she has a cave, deep down under a hollow rock, far from the deathless gods and mortal men. There, then, did the gods appoint her a glorious house to dwell in, and she keeps guard in Arima beneath the earth, grim Echidna, a nymph who dies not nor grows old all her days. Men
That they're immortal, and immortal means immortal. That means they're still around somewhere.
say that Typhaon, the terrible, outrageous, and lawless,
Typhon was, I think, the dragon that is in the desert, because his neck is cut. Well, anyway, listen.
was joined in love to her, the maid with glancing eyes. So she conceived and brought forth fierce offspring. First she bore Orthus, the hound of Geryones, and then again she bore a second, a monster not to be overcome and that may not be described, Cerberus, who eats raw flesh, the brazen-voiced hound of Hades, 50-headed, relentless and strong. And again she bore a third, the evil-minded Hydra of Lerna, whom the goddess white-armed Hera nourished, being angry beyond measure with the mighty Heracles. And her Heracles, the son of Zeus, of the house of Amphitryon, together with warlike Iolaus, destroyed with the unpitying sword through the plans of Athena, the spoil-driver. She was the mother of Chimera, who breathed raging fire, a creature fearful, great, swift-footed, and strong, who had 3 heads, one of a grim-eyed lion, another of a goat, and another of a snake, a fierce dragon. In her forepart she was a lion, in her hinder part a dragon, and in her middle a goat, breathing forth a fearful blast of blazing fire. Her did Pegasus and noble Bellerophon slay, but Echidna was subject in love to Orthus, and brought forth...
You know, that could have been the dragon in the desert. I don't know. I'm going to leave it at this because it's so incredible that you have to take your time, listen to it, you know, if you want. It's up to you, but it's it all ties together. Let me put it that way. You know, somebody says, oh, the guy's going off into some mythological thing. Well, yes, that's true. But, you know, mythological, that's a word. That doesn't mean anything. It's history as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, this is more historical than the things they're making up today. Everything is, well, they must have meant this. Oh, they couldn't have meant that. They had to mean, it wouldn't work. They'd be too big. They couldn't live. I see it, but I can't see it because it's impossible. That's what I'm getting. And I'm serious. And the people that are telling me this are the people that are supposed to be telling you that they understand how to disseminate, or to discriminate about what truth is. And they've already got a preset mindset of what their truth is, and they're not going to let any other truth conflict with that truth that they've already determined is truth. I'm finding it a lot, and those are the kind of people I'm finding from, the ones that feel it's their responsibility to tell you what to think. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for today. But I'm going to go deeper into this. Jody and I were looking at it today, and there's a lot of people involved in this now because it's very meaningful. It's extremely meaningful. Trust me. You know, it's meaningful to me. Let me just go with that. All right, anyway, God bless you, and Zeus bless you, and Jesus bless you, and they all bless you, I hope. I hope they bless me, too. All right, I will see you soon.
The deadly Sphinx, which destroyed the Cadmeans, and the Nemean lion, which Hera, the good wife of Zeus, brought up and made to haunt the hills of Nemea.
It's just too much.